Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This is gonna be a battle report of Kingdom of Aquitaine against Sylvan Elves for the March ETC practice day. So with the ETC team, we are testing out different lists, and well, basically, I got to the point where I just want to play Warriors of Chaos, Warriors of the Dark Gods with my double Helmor setup with the triple Chosen and the Dragon. But just to give the rest of the team a little bit of practice against some other lists, I just enabled other people to practice against this one. So this is a list from a guy from the Belgian ETC team. And yeah, it looked quite interesting. We had some people that wanted to get some more practice in against Kingdom of Aquitaine, and I found this one to be a little bit off meta. So in that sense, it's less useful to practice against, maybe, because it's less likely that you will see it. But on the other hand, it might still be like a hidden gem within the book, maybe. But and then again, the list archetypes have not really changed that much over time, I think, other than the single model spam being a little bit neutered with the point adjustments. So what do we have in the list? We have a paladin. He has a great weapon, Mortal Reminder. Personally, I don't really understand this build specifically because all that Mortal Reminder does is give you +1 strength, +1 AP, and it gives you terror on the charge, I believe. Then we have a Damsel Wizard Master on a Unicorn. We have a Damsel Wizard Adept on Shamanism. I don't know. I still don't know why you would take a Wizard Master on Druidism, because basically you invest your magic phase into repairing what your opponent did instead of actively going out for the battle. But then we have two folk heroes, and basically they pair up quite nicely with the Wizard Master on Druidism. So one folk hero is a cleric, and he's a minstrel, so he gets the divination level, or hereditary Wizard Apprentice. And then we have a folk hero who is also a cleric, who is the Bannerman. So basically you have two folk heroes that are going to go into the Knights of the Quest each, allowing you to heal a Knight of the Quest model every single turn. And then probably the Knights of the Realm will house the Paladin to increase their damage output a little bit. We have a block of lowborn levies, we have some Hedge Knights, and we have 2 units of Knights of the Quest. They are going to do the most of the shifting in the list, but we will see how that goes. So one of my opponents was playing Sylvan Elves, has been playing Sylvan Elves now for 2 years, I think. And he wanted to practice against this Kingdom of Aquitaine list. I thought that for the Kingdom of Aquitaine, this is quite a bad matchup generally. Not necessarily because of the characters, because the characters it's basically just a magic phase with a battle standard bearer. But then the rest of the list, the Sylvan Archers are gonna clock in some damage over time. The Forest Rangers are a bit of an issue, and especially just even this single unit of Wild Huntsmen, it's something that the Kingdom of Aquitaine can't really do that much against, I find. So yeah, it's quite a basic list in that sense, but yeah, the Forest Rangers are definitely a problem as well. Here's some pictures of the army of my opponent for this game. So this is not the exact army that he played, but this is just to give you a bit of an idea of what it looks like. So then let's get into the game itself. This is going to be after Kingdom of Aquitaine turn 1. So I missed my deployment. Deployment was quite basic, I think, for Kingdom of Aquitaine. We have the 2 spoils in the center of the hill and the center of the ruins. My opponent deployed to drop first turn. He does not have that much shooting. He only has the 2x archers and the 2x sentinels. The rest is mostly close combat focused. I would rate this as, for the Kingdom of Aquitaine, as a bad matchup, something like 7 points, 6 points, because probably you're going to play into the draw, lose objective, and then end up with 6 points. If I don't engage and my opponent doesn't engage as well, then it's basically going to be a draw. So deployment-wise, what I did, I had the Knight of the Realm all the way on the left side with the Lord, the Paladin with the Motto Reminder for the Fear and Terror. Then we have the Light Troops Hedge Knights here with the Friar's Lantern behind them, such that my opponent can charge with the Wild Huntsman. I do draw out the charge. I believe it's a 8 to these guys or something and a 7 to these guys. So I draw out the Frenzy with the vassal, or not the vassal levies, with the peasant levies. And then, well, I would assume that I remain steadfast, that he doesn't kill 35 or something. So yeah, he has to charge out here or here, and then I have my mage, my Knights of the Quest. So my Knights of the Realm basically here are ready for a counter charge. If he goes into the Hedge Knights, completely annihilates them, overruns into the Friar's Lantern, I can then charge into his flank with the Knights of the Realm. And similarly here, the vassals, the peasant, they can take the charge of the Wild Huntsman, counter charge with the Knights of the Quest or the other Knights of the Quest. So basically I'm loading my flank for the objective here that my opponent has to commit something in order to make me not score this objective, and I plan to keep this objective for the rest of the game, and then I plan to draw this objective once by just sending out the Knights of the Quest, hoping that they will survive the stuff from my opponent. We did talk a lot about this engagement basically. And yeah, I think this is the best situation for me to approach this, because the Sylvan Elf stuff is just too high in AP and damage output to make it worth it for the Kingdom of Aquitaine to commit, I feel like. If you feel different, please let me know in the comments. But basically, like a unit of rangers, like the one here, of just 10 rangers, 15 attacks, Strength 5, AP 3, that does hurt a lot. I don't think it will manage to go through a unit of Knights of the Quest, but then the bigger blocks, they definitely will. I positioned the Knights of the Quest here in such a way that I am behind the wall, so that I will get distracting if my opponent would charge in. And I think this was quite a decent setup for me. One of the mistakes that my opponent made, I believe, is that he put the Wild Huntsman too far forward, because now I can already draw out his Wild Huntsman by being in the position where I am. Whereas if he had put them just a little bit more back, then sure, I can go a little bit more aggressive on the objective maybe. But anyway, I have the hill to protect my line of sight for the Knights of the Quest here. I can also protect my Knights of the Realm from a charge with the same hill. So it basically should have gone, I think, at a distance of a 9 to the edge of this hill here, so that if I would peek over, he would have quite a guaranteed charge with the Wild Huntsman. But in that case, he only needs to be 18 inches away from that edge, and right now this is 12, so he's like 14 inches away. I think he could have gone like 4 inches further back, just to protect his Wild Huntsman from being drawn out by units like this. So if he had been further away, then I would have had to go further up the field. He would have had a decent charge with his rangers instead of a near impossible charge. So I think that would have been a better play. So in his turn, we talk about this for 5 minutes, for 10 minutes. So he does in the end declare a charge with his forest rangers onto my Knights of the Quest. I think it's a bad idea. It's a 15, so he needs a 10 on the dice. So the game that we put down today, obviously I don't play Kingdom of Aquitaine that much, and I'm not saying that I made a great mistake or anything, or that probably I should have done stuff differently. That is part of playing an army that you're not used to. But the point of this game was for my opponent to get a chance to practice against the Kingdom of Aquitaine. He clearly thought that this was a mistake on my behalf, because he was willing to charge me on a 10. And then I counted this out before he did this charge. before he declared it. The Knights of the Quest have marked the Forest Rangers as their target, their quest target. So I do get rerolls to wound and I do get lethal strike. Magic wise, he has Stone Skin, he has the -1 offense defense thing, I believe. He has Master of Earth and the heal. Otherwise, he has Awaken the Beast and he has Perception of Strength. He has his Hereditary, and I think that's it, more or less. He doesn't have any spells that boost the to hit roll, I believe. So he would charge in, he would have 16 attacks, hitting me on 5s. Then afterwards, you're going to modify the roll with the magic you have. But 16 attacks hitting on 5s, that's going to be the scenario. So he can expect to do 5 or 6 hits. I will have an Aegis. I can boost my Aegis if I want to, depending on the spells that he has. So he can, at max, expect to do 3 wounds, because he has AP3, he can go to AP4. But if I do put the Horizon 5 up save, then he's gonna at max do 4 wounds. Realistically, sure, there's always ice spikes and stuff, but if he does 4 wounds, I still have 4 knights left. If he does 4 wounds, he has invested in offensive magic rather than defensive one, because I can expect to at least dispel 1 spell there. So then I will be hitting him back on 4+ to hit and 2+ to wound with a reroll, so I will do 4 wounds back. At least I have a static combat res of 2, he has a static combat res of 3 or 4, so he might win the combat by 2. I'll have a discipline 7 rerollable, and that is considering that he does 4 wounds. So if he does 1 wound less, then we're going to be close to a draw. If he does 2 wounds less, then I'm going to win the combat practically. So that is my thought there. So mostly he will charge in, he will either make it or not make it. That is still a big question, big if, because it's a charge on a 10, so if he doesn't make it, he'll be stranded here. He'll give me a free charge onto his Forest Rangers, which is totally uncalled for. If I do get my free charge, then I will definitely do decent amount of damage on this unit, because I will use the Horizon for the +1 to hit. So I will have 12 hits, 12 wounds. And I will break his unit because he will not retain his 2 ranks, and I probably will. So if he fails to charge, he has to invest a lot of magic in order to keep this rather safe, and there's still a chance that I can blow through anyway. And if I do, then I'm in his backfield, and it's going to be horrible for him. So basically, we sketched that out. Then we got to the point where he's declaring his charges. He does declare the charge. And well, I still don't agree with the fact that he did. But it's mostly because, well, I brought this army for him to practice. We discussed over and over how this would turn out. And there's a couple of scenarios, right? So one scenario is he fails to charge and he's stuck there. I get the charge because I'm basically at this point I have to make it a reasonable situation, I guess. But for the greatest sake of the game and for practicing, I then should not charge, because it's just a lose condition basically in my eyes. But the other scenario is he gets a charge and he loses the combat, he sticks around or he breaks. Doesn't really matter that much, because in the grind I do expect to win, because I have my healing through my my Ordo Minister, and I can also still invest some magic on my turn to either raise some wounds back with my double heal or get another boost. Like, for example, +2 agility to strike first. It's not pretty for him. Or he goes in on a 10, he does something magical and he gets the boosts off that he needs despite my dispelling attempts. He does sufficient damage to make me not stat fast against him. I do fail my break test, and after that there's still a critical moment. So if that all goes right, there's still a moment where I will break with Swift Stride, and he will have to pursue at that point, because otherwise I'm just going to go away, I will rally, and then he has to go in again. completely unsupported, whilst I will be able to support my troops. Maybe even raise some questing knights back, have decimated units on both sides, but then I'll likely win the grind, I think. So anyway, what happens is he charges in, he does 4 wounds, I completely whiff, I also break, and I get run down by him. Which basically turns the game from an interesting game that was a bit under stress, under tension, to a game where I have a block of forest rangers in my flank in a matchup where I'm not really invested to achieve anything other than to let my opponent practice. So I was really sad about that, because basically this second turn charge dictated the rest of the game and turned it into a rather not that useful game anymore, because then at this point there's no chance that I can still even try to put him under pressure. So I also think it's not that good practice anyway. So here we have the charge. He does charge in, and yeah, this is a bit later. So basically, this is after. Yeah, what you also see in this picture is it's after his charges. So the Wild Huntsman, they moved up a little bit because they just rolled a 2, 1, and a 1 for the charge. So he moved up 2 inches, and basically he's in a position where I would have put him had I total control over this unit. We discussed a little bit about how to protect his units here. Yeah, this is it's I think it's not the optimal situation because we could have moved a little bit more back even. I think so the field here is till the edge of the unit. It's still kind of to the edge. I would have put the unit 2 inches back with the scouts just in front on the edge of the forest, because then my peasants, they will have a longer charge. So there's lines here on the mat. You can, I don't know if you can see them. I can see them. But I think this was like a 15 or 14 inch, because these lines are 12 inches apart. I think it's like 14, 15 inches. Would have been great if it had been 16 or even 17 inches for an impossible charge. Because in this situation, what we have now, I can charge him with the Knights of the Realm on these. And then I will get an overrun into the Forest Rangers. He will have counter charge with the Wild Huntsman, and then my Knights of the Realm will be gone. Or the Knights of the Quest, sorry, they will be gone. However, if I also charge in with the peasants, then I can go in here, I can get an overrun together with the knights, and then with the extra combat rest with the steadfast, it might still be okay-ish. I can also still chaff his Wild Huntsman at that point, but that is something that I need to do after I basically know whether I can whether my peasants will get there or not. Alternatively, I can also charge in with these guys on the Wild Huntsman, just lock them up for a turn, and then see if I do any damage at all, if I have some guys that survive. I was expecting at least one of my guys to survive in this combat. But yeah, we'll see what happens. So next picture, as you can see, this is basically the worst of both worlds, I would say. So I do sacrifice my Hedge Knights charging into the Wild Huntsman. I do manage to lock them in combat for a turn. The Knights of the questing knights, they charge in onto the scouts. The peasants also charge in onto the scouts. Only the peasants make it, but then knights of the quest, they don't. So I don't have my overrun onto his forest rangers. This is a bad situation for me, because I will just get decimated by the forest rangers just with the peasants. If the knights of the quest had been there, I might still have had a chance to save the game. Even though it would have been quite a tense game again, I guess. Then again, still, just to the presence of Wild Huntsmen, even 7 of them with Druidism, it's just a no-go for Kingdom of Aquitaine, I feel. So yeah, had I had the questing knights together with the levies into the forest ranges, I think I could have broken them overrun into the
the mage bunker here. And the levies, they could have done whatever they wanted to do, basically. But yeah, at this point, it's kind of hopeless, I would say. So my opponent does chaff me up with some eagles. He brings the forest rangers forward to engage the flank of my Knights of the Realm. The only thing I still have got for me is the fact that I caused terror with the Mortal Reminder guy, so I might be able to panic off the eagles there. And I think I actually do. I don't really remember if I do or not. But basically, my Knights of the Realm and the quests, they do in turn 5 or so, they get a charge off against the same forest rangers that were there before, I think. I don't know exactly anymore how this happened, but basically I have to open up my flanks and I get countercharged everywhere. And all of the Kingdom of Aquitaine models are going to be off the field by the end of the battle, except for my wizard. It's going to be a 20-0 for the Sylvan Elves because he scores the objective. He still has all his characters. He still has his entire core. I think in the end what points did I take? I took the Eagles. I took the 2 units of Scouts. I think that's more or less it. Maybe 1 unit of Rangers, but that's kind of it. But yeah, I think it's quite sad that the game got thrown away as a practice game in this turn. So maybe next time with a rematch with some different army, we will reach some different conclusions. But for now, that's going to be it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you then next time.